care, which equates to dollars saved. And I'm going to share that with you this hour, and maybe even in the second hour, because not every radio station across the nation airs both hours of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. But just for you to know, regardless, from 10 till noon Eastern Time, every Saturday, I invade your space, if you allow me, and I share with you automotive information that'll save you money and keep your car in your garage and out of mine or out of your local service shop. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, sign up to be an O Rewards member and earn 1 point for every dollar spent. You receive rewards twice as fast and on the go when you provide your email address, which is very easy. O Reward members get a $5 reward for every 150 points they earn. It's fast, it's easy, and it's free, and only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. See store or orewards.com for more details. Stay tuned. Your calls at 888-227-2546 when I come back. Folks, the Car Care Council reminds you that October is Fall Car Care Month. There's no better time to perform a thorough check of various maintenance items: brakes, battery, tires, cooling system, filters, headlights, the exhaust system. These are just a few.
Visa gift card by mail. Improve your ride with Monroe or Rancho shocks and struts at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Let's dive into another Car Clinic email. Dear Bobby, my vehicle has just gone out of warranty. It has 48,000 miles, and now all maintenance is my responsibility. Can you suggest a maintenance checklist? I'd like to keep this vehicle long-term. Assuming your vehicle is about 4 years old and has just under 50,000 miles on the odometer, we suggest starting with the fluids. Think brake fluid, transmission fluid, and of course coolant. The cooling system is often overlooked. While coolant and cooling systems have evolved through the years, they still need service. Have the cooling system flushed and refilled with a proper antifreeze coolant for your specific vehicle, and inspect all belts and hoses. And don't forget the thermostat and radiator cap. Complete the system service with a new Stant Superstat and a new Stant radiator pressure cap. This is a great way to extend the life of all cooling system components and add reliability to your vehicle. Stant products meet or exceed OE quality in both fit and function. Learn more at stant.com. That's stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us today. I want to say hats off to our community right here, and we're the center of the automotive universe. That's where we broadcast from every Saturday, located in Pensacola, Florida. And last night we went down to Seville Quarter, which is a fantastic old assortment of bars, if you will, that have really they celebrated their 50th anniversary, and it was a street party, and it was in honor of and to raise funds for cerebral palsy, Capstone Academy, Capstone, all of our clients, and I was just proud to be there. I am on the Capstone board. And just was really, and it's a steak. Everyone was supplied the same meat, cut of meat, and different folks from across the city, even the firefighters, had their version of the steak, and it was really a great event. If your city has events like this, feel free to call and share with us and across the nation, because like car shows, like so many events that are local, those local events support the community in many, many ways, and many of those folks who aren't as fortunate as perhaps you and I. Let's go to Missouri, take a call from James, and then we're going to go to Washington, take a call from Catherine, and then Hannah will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, and please get in early versus the last part of the show, so I don't feel so rushed and you don't feel so rushed, and I have time to properly address whatever situation you have. It appears that James has something to do with the harmonic balancer in 1998. James, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby, and thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. What can I do for you?
Well, I called you about 2 weeks ago, and I had the problem with the serpentine belt braking, and the car had a bad misfire. You suggested I do some things like change the crankshaft sensor, the camshaft sensor, and the coil packs and plugs and wires and all that. Do you remember the call?
I do, yes. You'd had an ongoing problem for some time, I think, with that. Yes.
I took your advice and finally tried to get rid of the check engine light. I was wrong about the pulley. I had to pull the crankshaft pulley off the crank. I had the claw type pulley, so I went last night and bought the bolt type, which is what it needs.
Okay.
And the reason I'm calling you, I'm stuck. I only have hand tools, and of course, I was afraid this would happen. When I go to pull the center nut out that holds the bolt, that holds the crankshaft pulley on, it spins the whole crank.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
So I wasn't sure if it would or not. The compression would be enough. So now what I've done is taken 2 bolts and put them in the holes for the pulley.
Right.
And lodged my 4-jack handle in there against the frame and those 2 bolts.
Okay.
Now, it's still very tight. What I wanted to do, I do not want to break this bolt in there. What I wanted to do is double check with you and make sure that this is a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey kind of a deal. I want to make sure that these threads are normal threads. I'm not sure about that.
They are. They are left thread, and you do counterclockwise, looking at the engine, turn it to the left, turn the bolt, because the engine actually, if you're looking, of course, an engine turns counterclockwise from the driver's seat. And anyway, the bottom line is it is a normal right-hand thread, which tightens to the right and loosens to the left. And yes, it will be difficult, at least, to break that bolt loose. If you had an impact driver, like an air gun, and you could get an air gun in there, a lot of times there's not room enough to get an air gun in there, and you have to use a cheater bar and a socket. But by all means, you just lay on it. You will not break the bolt. Now, you must make sure that if that bolt, if the repair calls for it, you have to replace the bolt with a new one. And I say that because we had a AAA tow-in. We're AAA certified, and we had a AAA car come in. Gosh, it's been a year ago now, and this car had a harmonic balancer replaced somewhere in Georgia, as I remember, and the daughter was here. The owner's daughter was here going to University of West Florida to school, and the harmonic balancer was loose. And we looked at it, and we could find nothing except that it was loose. Well, we called the shop that installed it because we saw it had the paperwork and what have you, and the shop owner says, no, we tightened that. So we did some investigative work and learned that you could only use that retaining bolt one time, and after you torqued it, after it was torqued, when whatever the torque was, let's say 100 foot-pounds of torque, then you turn it 90 degrees more, which puts us. And I'm not saying on your Malibu that that's the case, but you need to look in a repair manual to make sure, because some of those bolts are one-time use, just as head bolts are one-time use, because they have to be. It has to be so tight to stop the vibrations from working that harmonic balancer loose, that you damage the bolt. Well, you don't damage the bolt. You just stretch it to its. You stretch it, but you don't stretch it twice.
Okay. Now, a couple more questions on that.
Okay.
I will. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so I'm trying to do this with a breaker bar and enough extensions to come out of the wheel well, so I can get a grip on it.
Okay.
I've got a 2x4 that I cut to length underneath the breaker bar, right where the extensions meet the breaker bar, so I can really push down on that.
Okay.
Or hold my hand there. You know, because if you just push down on it, you're going to just pull the.
Well, yeah, you're gonna. If you push down on the bar, you're gonna. What's going to keep the 90-degree angle? You have to use your left hand. I mean, yeah, that's. You won't believe this, but I actually saw a so-called mechanic that was going to torque a wheel that just pushed down on the handle and didn't put his left hand on the rotating part. And I said, "Stop right there." He looked at me like, "What?" I said, "Stop right there." Have you ever torqued a wheel before? Or are you just doing it because I'm watching you? Anyway, that person lasted 4 hours. Anyway, that's another story.
Well, great.
So
at least you saw that before.
Well,
before
absolutely. You know, now, but here's the bottom line, James. You do have to hold that top. Otherwise, you're not putting a torque on it. You're kind of just rounding it off. And you know what I'm talking about. What's your second question?
The reason I was putting the 2x4 in there because I was going to maybe try a cheater bar, and I couldn't. If I wanted to, put a pipe on the breaker bar, and then I thought the 2x4 would hold the extension up. In other words, take a place of my hand so I can put both hands on the breaker bar. Do you think that's a dumb idea or not?
I would think. I just don't know from a strength standpoint and a leverage where you have this. My concern with using props is that you don't have that hands-on feel, so you'll push with. I guess you're going to push with your leg, right?
No, I was going to just push it with my. I was going to push it with my hands.
I don't agree. I don't. Here's what I don't feel comfortable with that. What I would feel comfortable with, if rather than you pushing with your hands, pushing away from your body, I would feel comfortable if you went to the other side and use your biceps and your arms and pull toward you, and then you could, and slowly but firmly, and you could feel if something would break loose or if it was about to round off. You see where I'm going? If you push, you have no idea, and it's just not a comfortable position that I think you should put yourself in. But I'm not looking at exactly how you're set up. But I think you should go with a pull toward you versus push away from your body.
I see, right. So I'll pull up on it instead of push down. Yeah, because I got the car. I'm at that point right now.
Yeah,
I got it
because
all.
if it
I'm
slips,
right now. Like,
if you pull toward you and it slips, you're going to feel it, and you can back off. If you push away and it slips, your hands could go into a sharp area, blade, break your knuckles, yada yada yada. Welcome to my world. And we do have other calls. So what else can I do for you, sir?
Okay, so I think O'Reilly has a loan tool program. I just got off the phone with him before I called you, and he was checking.
Absolutely, you can.
Okay, I know that one person has one place has a electric impact because I don't have a compressor, and it has 230 pounds of torque. Do you think that's enough to break that loose?
Might be. It just depends. There's some really powerful impacts, and impacts are unlike your arm trying to pull it loose. The impact goes rat-tat-tat-tat, and it pops it loose, and that's okay to break it loose, but not okay to reassemble, as you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more quick one. I have a spare tire on there, the little bitty one on the front. This is a front-wheel drive car with sideways engine. That little tire is, of course, a little smaller than the bigger one. Is that going to cause any problems for the transmission? For that differential, those two different.
Well, it's only made to go 50. It's only made to go 25, 30 miles. It's not made to run forever. So the answer to that question is it's causing an overspin of planetary gears. So that's not healthy when you have two different sizes. So use it for its purpose, emergency only. There's the break. Catherine, I'm going to come back to you. Don't go away.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts. And your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside and know there's true strength on the inside.
Another question from the Car Clinic inbox. Dear Bobby, I've driven a company car for years, so I haven't had the need to shop for tires in a long time. My daughter is away at school and is going to need new tires when she comes home for a break. She drives a late model Ford Fusion. Any advice? Absolutely. Knowledge is power, so my first suggestion is to log on to a reputable website with great information. I recommend GeneralTire.com, which actually features a tire selector that allows you to search for tires by make, model, or tire size. In terms of specific tires for your daughter's Fusion, General just came out with its G-Max AS05, a terrific all-season tire with excellent handling and tread wear characteristics. And the G-Max AS05 also features a number of technological advancements that would be new since the last time you shopped for tires. Visual alignment indicators actually extend tire life by identifying vehicle misalignment, and Replace Tire Monitor technology alerts you when a change of tires is needed. That's GeneralTire.com. Good luck with your daughter's Fusion.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So glad you tuned in today. Every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time. Now, I said Eastern Time. This week, we received emails that someone said, well, I called and the show was already, shut down, and I had to leave word. And it was only 10 o'clock, but it was Eastern Time. And so it's 9 to 11 Central, 10 to noon Eastern Time. Let's go to Washington State and take a call from Catherine. And folks, now is a great time for you to get in at 888-227-2546. Catherine, good morning and welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call, Bobby.
You're welcome.
I have a 2013 F-150. It has about 82,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm.
And under warranty, they've replaced our CV joints a couple of times because we keep hearing like a crackling, popping type noise.
Mm-hmm.
And it alternates. Sometimes the right one will go out, and then the left, and they just keep changing the CV joints on that. Well, we were on a trip recently, and we heard it, but it sounded different. And we were out in the middle of nowhere in Montana, and so we tried to figure out what it could be, and my husband turned it from two-wheel drive to four-wheel auto, and it went away. And I'm wondering, is this like a vacuum leak where it's trying to put it into four-wheel drive?
You would not
or
hear.
What can that be?
Well, no, you would not hear a vacuum leak because a vacuum leak is. I'm not sure of the terminology that you're using, but Catherine, a vacuum leak is like is the opposite of a balloon with a hole in it that's a pressure leak, and a vacuum leak's the same thing. So a vacuum leak would be the description of maybe if you heard something leaking under the dash of a car, or the opposite, again, a tire that had a hole in it and it was leaking air, and you could hear that.
Okay, so let me clarify.
Please.
Because if there's a vacuum leak, it may, because I know the four-wheel drive runs on vacuum.
Well, wait now. The four-wheel drive actuator is moved by vacuum.
Right.
It doesn't
And
run
we're
on
wondering
vacuum.
if there's possibly a vacuum leak in that actuator, because we've taken it to the dealership and they can't seem to find anything wrong with it. But if we put it in two-wheel drive, go about 45 to 50 miles an hour.
Right.
We hear this. It almost sounds like a bearing's going out.
Well,
it
may well be, or maybe the clutches in some of the gear train. Here's the bottom line: a vacuum actuator, let's just say, is analogous to the light switch on the wall in your kitchen. Flip on, flip off. The vacuum actuator uses a vacuum diaphragm, which is just like the diaphragm when you take a breath, or if you put your mouth together and suck your cheeks in, that's a pressure differential, and that's a vacuum. So there's no noise there. That's the whole point. It's a one-time operation if the vacuum works. If the vacuum didn't work, it would not change into four-wheel drive. Ergo, you have no vacuum actuator problem. The fact that, so let's put that behind us, the fact that when you change it from two to four-wheel drive and the noise goes away, or vice versa, that proves that there's a gear train problem. So you need to stick with that dealer. And the bad news is you have this problem, and the bad news, some of the worst news is they've replaced CV joints, and now you have the same issue. But here's the good news: as long as you can make this car make this noise, which you can, I presume, then you can take a technician for a ride and say, here's the noise it's making. Hear that noise? Yeah, I got it. Okay, fix it. So here's your to-do. Take it back to the dealer that's replaced these parts. I mean, is it the dealer there in Washington?
Yes.
Okay. And if you've got a good rapport with those guys, I'm sure they have, because you sound great to me. I mean, I never worked on your car, but here's what I really recommend, Catherine. Go to this dealership, go to the service department, ask a technician to ride with you, and you do not let that person drive. You drive, and you take that technician for a ride and make that car make that noise. And then you look at that technician and say, there it is, that's the noise I want. Oh, yeah, I got it. And then you're on the same page, and then you can feel more comfortable leaving your vehicle with that technician because you and he, or you and she, are on the same page. That's exactly what I would want you to do if you lived in the center of the automotive universe here in Florida.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Let me know how it works out on the other end, and thank you for your call. 888-227-2546. Folks, let me share this with you. Last week, we had Lori Walker on from safekids.org. And so this week, I saw that Lori Walker was on the Today Show. So I've asked Fabio to queue up the show from last week. But Fabio, before we go there, let's go to Australia, because I don't want Frank to have to wait online that long. So what I had planned to do, folks, and I still will, is to play just a segment of the message that Lori Walker from safekids.org. We talked about seat belts and talked about seats and child seats and those sorts of things. It's really important. And then when I saw her this week on the Today Show, I said, yeah, well, she was on our show. So I'm going to play for you soon just a portion of her segment. And she was live with us, but of course we record every show. So Fabio is going to cue that up. But first, let's take a call from Frank in Australia. Frank, it's great to have you back in the house. Welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic here in the center of the automotive universe from down under.
How you been, Bobby?
I'm just great. You, sir?
Very good, thanks.
What
I think we got a bit of delay there.
What can I do for you? Or did you just call to say hello?
No. I just want to have your opinion on something.
Sure.
We've got a Camry in the family, and I did a throttle body clean on it. It's got the fly-by-wire, and so I did it properly. I had someone on the accelerator with the ignition on, so the butterfly stayed open.
Okay.
I cleaned it. It idles really well, like it's all good. It's just a cold start in the morning. If it just really revs up higher than normal. And I'll just be concerned if there's is there some sort of reset that I have to do or anything?
There is a reset procedure, but that reset procedure is not only for the idle, it's for cam phasing and sensors but here's the bottom line. You really should not have affected, unless you disconnected the battery or replaced a component, which you did not, you should not have affected the speed of the engine. I'm trying to decide, and I don't know the answer to this technically, but you may, and this is certainly something that you can do, it wouldn't cause you any problems at all. You can disconnect the negative battery cable, and that could affect the idle to the point that the idle would automatically relearn versus you having to use a scan tool to have it automatically relearn. Now, not all
I've
cars.
already done that.
You already done that? Did that have any effect at all?
Yeah, because what happened was when I kicked it over, the engine light came on.
Oh, yeah.
I go, okay.
Right.
Okay. I started swearing. I disconnected the battery, connected it again, and then the engine light was off.
Well, that code is still in that car, though. That code is still. What year is this vehicle? I mean, it's a 96 or later?
It's a 2009 Camry.
Okay. Well, here's the bottom line. Even if that check engine light is off, which you said it did go off, that code is still stored within the architecture of the machine. So what you need to do is to read the codes, and then you need to have a scan tool that will clear the codes. And at the same time that it clears the codes, then the ECM will get a fresh start and then let it go through what's called cycles. And Frank, meaning the repairs, self-repairs, and cars do self-repair, may take 2 to 5 cycles. A cycle is where you start the vehicle after an overnight stand and you drive it through its warm-up stage. Now, that takes no less than 15 minutes. The first, the first 6 blocks are cold, the next 2 miles are warm, and then 10 minutes afterwards is normal operating temperature. And the computer changes the air-fuel curve and the idle speed and the timing and sort of adjust it on the fly during this time. And it has some other settings as well that it checks. And it takes at least 2, if not 4, of these cycles before it's had an opportunity to reach out to all of its little adjustments and say, oh, I need to do this one. Oh, I need to do that one. I didn't do this one. And, so I'll turn the mic back to you. You had a question?
Yeah, I'm thinking because when I took the air tube off, I disconnected the mass airflow sensor.
Right.
And with ignition on, maybe that's what set the code off.
Well, it would, and anytime you turn ignition on when you have pieces or parts disconnected, see, every time you turn the ignition switch on, the computer reaches out and touches everything in the car, literally. Yep. I mean, when we reprogrammed a Dodge recently, and it looked like a Christmas tree. Literally, we reprogrammed it. We had to put a new PCM in it because rodents had chewed the wires, and we had to put a new harness. And then during that time that it was driven into the shop, the harness shorted and shorted the drivers in the PCM. So after we replaced the harness assembly, which was a big job, we had to replace the PCM, and we had to reprogram it. And at the end of the reprogramming, it said turn key off, then it's a cycle, you turn key on, yada, yada, yada. So at the very end, when you turn the key on after the program was 100% installed, the dash looked like a Christmas tree. The ABS would come on, the check engine light would come on, the oil pressure. I mean, and what it was doing, it being the PCM, it was reaching out to all of the sensors to make sure that there was a handshake. And
Right.
And so that's what all cars do. And they, I don't, for the life of me, it's really magic. It's not magic, but it really is high tech at the sophistication of cars these days and how much that they actually interact and all the pieces and parts interact. You put a door lock actuator, you know, where you hit the key fob and lock the door. If you put a new door lock actuator on an automobile, you have to introduce it and initialize it to the car. Why? Because during a crash, when the airbag is deployed, the ECM, the body control module, not the ECM, but the body control module will unlock all the doors so that when emergency help gets there, the doors are unlocked so they don't have to break a window, because they could hurt someone breaking a window to get in a wrecked car.
That's great engineering.
Yeah, it is great engineering. Frank, thank you so much for your call from Australia, and thanks for tuning in again today. I love hearing from you from down under. And folks, I'm going to come back and share with you some information about safe seats. Winter's around the corner. Checked your tires lately? Now through October 31st, General Tire is offering up to $70 on a prepaid Visa gift card when you purchase 4 qualifying tires, including new models like the G-Max AS05 and the Grabber APT. And General Tire continues to be on the cutting edge of technology with features like replacement tire monitor, smart grip, and visual alignment monitor. Visit GeneralTire.com and use the Tire Selector feature to find the tire that's best for your vehicle. That's GeneralTire.com.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Okay, so here's the drill. What I have asked Fabio, our producer, to do is to cue up just a portion of a recent interview that I had with Lori Walker, who represented safekids.org. And you'll hear some information, and for those of you who may have missed last week's program, of course you can always get it at iTunes and podcasts and those sorts of things, which is actually, you know, we save that and we record every show. So that's for you. I also have for you And we'll play, I don't know, Fabio, I guess 3 or 4 minutes of that, because it was a very long interview, but I just want to share with you some salient points from the interview. And then I will share with you my best practices car care, which equates to dollars saved. And this is a piece that I wrote this week that has to do with carbon buildup in engines. All internal combustion engines, and the word all is complete, build carbon, because as it is with coffee grounds, there's always some residue left over. All of that fuel doesn't burn, and even if it did, there's still some oil that gets into your engine. Well, oil is in the engine, but it gets into the combustion area of your engine and the intake, the lungs of your engine from the PCV system, and that causes a coking problem. So for those of you who drive injected cars or gasoline cars, this will apply. For those of you who drive port injection, and then for those of you who drive the latest technology, direct injection, you really need to pay attention to this, because you don't know it, but all direct injection cars that have standalone direct injection, which is better than port, actually has serious side effects to the fact that the fuel is directed into the cylinder and not through the port of the engine. And I'll get into that a little bit later. I've tried to make it in lay terms so that you can, it's not technical, you can understand what I'm trying to say. In the meantime, now is the perfect time to call. Hannah will take your call at 888-227-2546. That's 227-2546, and put you in the queue. And then when we hear a few words from Lori Walker at Safe Kids, I'll come back and take your call. So Fabio, let's queue up and let us hear a few of the salient points from last week's interview with Lori Walker. With us on the hotline now is Lori Walker, car seat expert for Safe Kids Worldwide. And folks, throughout the world, almost 1 million children die of an injury each year, and almost every one of these tragedies is preventable. Safe Kids works with an extensive network of more than 400 coalitions in the U.S. and with partners in more than 30 countries to reduce traffic injuries, drownings, falls, burns, poisonings, and more. Since 1988, Safe Kids has helped reduce the U.S. childhood death rate from unintentional injury by 60%. Working together, we can do much more for kids everywhere. So, Lori, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're happy to have you and Safe Kids Worldwide on our Car Clinic Globalcast.
Well, thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I hope we can help some families today figure out how they can make their kids safer in the car.
Well, let's get started. Fill in our Car Clinic listeners and viewers about the new child passenger and car safety research Safe Kids Worldwide conducted.
Yeah, we're looking at something, a wonderful little tool that's on every car seat and has a counterpart in the car that you hook the two together and you get a safer ride for your kids. It's called a top tether. It's a strap that's at the back of forward-facing car seats that can be used with a harness. So that would be kids usually between the ages of 2 and maybe up all the way to 6 or 7 years of age. So these are forward-facing kids, not newborns, but forward-facing kids. And this top tether is already on your car seat. There's already an attachment in the car to hook it into. And yet we found that about 60% of families didn't know that they needed to use this. And it does make their child much safer. So we want people to know about it. We want them to know where to look for it in their car, how to find it on their car seat, and that they will not only use it themselves, but tell babysitters and grandparents and spouses, anybody that's transporting their child, to use it when they transport that forward-facing child.
Makes a lot of sense, Lori. What are some other common mistakes that parents make with child car seats?
You know, I'm really glad you asked that, because some of these little mistakes are so easily fixed if you just focus on them for just a minute or two. And we find that oftentimes parents may select the wrong car seat for their child. So they perhaps are using a car seat that's a booster seat, maybe for an older child, but they're using it for a younger one. So we want them to pick the right car seat. We want them to put it in the right place in the car. So that's a back seat. Any child under 13 should be riding in a back seat of the car. We want them to have the child harnessed correctly. And one of the things we see often is a harness that's used and not threaded through the right slots coming through the back of the car seat, and it's definitely too loose. We do something called the pinch test, so that once that harness is buckled, you shouldn't be able to pinch the webbing at the child's shoulder. And then the last thing that they often do is forget to install it correctly. And that means putting the seat belt or the lower attachments through it, tightening them, and then using the top tether for forward-facing kids, not necessary for rear-facing in most car seats, but adds so much protection for that older child. So those are the biggest mistakes that we see. We see them repeated all the time. And a car seat really shouldn't move more than 1 inch side to side or front to back when it's installed. So there's a little test that parents can do to be sure that they've done it right.
And that's really, folks, thank you, Fabio. What I wanted you to hear, what I wanted to share with you is the fact that the 1 inch movement test. And then a little later in last week's interview with Lori, she talked about the ultimate car seat guide, which is on their site, and their site is safekids.org. safekids.org, and there's a tab there that also leads you to the ultimate car seat guide, which helps you to pick the right seat. One other point too that I didn't ask Fabio to cherry pick from this interview, but was really important to me, and one of the reasons I wanted to re-air part of it this week was Lori mentioned the expiration date on car seats. And then she also mentioned, or I asked her about hand-me-downs. Now, number one, I am absolutely dead set against hand-me-downs. So if you're finished with a car seat, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever that, and then you have a relative that has a child or a friend, you're obviously say, well, this car seat's never been in an accident, so that's okay for it to be hand-me-down. If it had been in an accident, you're never supposed to use it again. But if it had never been in one, it is okay to hand me down, except, and here's the big except, and here's the bone of contention that I had and the concern that I have. The expiration date on the car seat is one of those things that we never look at, or many of you probably never knew was on a car seat. Unlike tires that have a born-on date, which is sort of the opposite. An expiration date is like when you buy milk. You know, it's good until so-and-so and so-and-so. You know it's no good after that. And it's pretty easy to find out if you're past the date just by tasting or smelling it. Well, automotive tires have a born-on date, and that born-on date, it would be a 4, there's an alphanumeric letter there, but on the side of the tire wall of the car, it would have, say, 5214. That's the last 4 digits, 5214. That would mean that tire was born on the 52nd week of 2014. Now, tires are really only good 6 years. They're guaranteed 6 years. So when you buy a new set of tires, you know, and today is, as you know, whatever the date is, what is the date today? It's the 14th, October 14th. Okay, so October 14th. So the number of weeks in the year and 2017, it would be this week of 2017. Well, it'd be great if you could buy a tire that was born today, but you can't. But you want to make sure that you don't buy a tire today that was born 4 years ago, because you might be getting a real special deal from a tire dealer, wholesale tire deal, because it's old inventory. And even though that inventory has not been in the UV, it still deteriorates, rubber does. So that same thing is true in my regards for child seat. Unfortunately, a child seat doesn't have a born-on date. It has an expiration date. Well, who knows? The new technology comes out all the time. New materials come out all the time. Updates, recalls. So it's always been, and then one of the things that Lori and I talked about, she said, Bobby, about $70 will buy you a brand new, up-to-date, latest model car seat. And for $70, when you consider the safety of your child, it's a no-brainer to buy a new one. Anyway, just wanted to share with you that information. Now I'm going to share with you a piece that I wrote about best practices car care that equates to dollars saved. I'll start off with the benefits of coolant analysis. This I gleaned from the Noria company, Noria, and that company is the trusted advisor to the world's leading organizations, and their single focus is to help the industry improve machine reliability through best practice lubrication and oil analysis. And Noria helps organizations manage and monitor lubricants for maintaining optimum reliability and safety. So companies, huge companies that use machines that hold $2,000 worth of or $10,000 worth of oil, they don't throw that oil away. They monitor it and they perform analysis on it. And a major mobile equipment manufacturer estimated, and get this, that an average of 53% of all engine failures are a direct result of problems with the cooling system. So you want to check the cooling analysis, including the glycol content, the pH, the conductivity, the inhibitor analysis, and the visual inspection and resistance to corrosion, because that's really valuable as routine oil analysis, likewise in preventing failure due to the cooling system of a car. Okay, so let's fast forward, because I've been asked this question about fuel additives. Benefits of fuel additives in proper applications. These are called maintenance services. So this has to do with fuel additives, and they're plentiful. And many do a great job of cleaning the fuel system, folks. But in order to maximize your investment, make sure that when you buy a cleaner, you get the right chemical for your application. Fuel system and injector cleaning is not a single line item process. There are several procedures designed specifically to remove carbon deposits. Let me explain. Induction cleaning wet procedure. What is a wet procedure? It's simple. You just pour fuel cleaner into your fuel tank, and it's the most common procedure that most people do. It's easy and effective, but for best results should be repeated every 5,000 miles. Wet cleaning delivers the cleaning chemical through the fuel system blended with gasoline and cleans intake ports, intake valves, and port fuel injectors. Also works with carbureted engines, but wet cleaning cannot clean the throttle body or the plenum chamber. That's the lungs of the engine. That's where the next process that I'm going to explain comes in. Induction cleaning fogging procedure. The fogging procedure delivers the cleaning agent under pressure into the plenum chamber as a fog. Fog cleaning works best when the chemical is discharged directly into the throttle body of a running engine at normal operating temperature, slowly over time, generally about 45 minutes, depending on how many miles and or how long the carbon has baked onto the interior walls of the intake system. I'll move on. A lot of you think that by spraying a liquid cleaner into the throttle body, you're cleaning the throttle system. But liquid only cleans what you can see where it's being sprayed, like mopping a floor. Whereas fog cleaning literally saturates the top, bottom, and walls everywhere of the intake plenum and the ports, dissolving carbon deposits that are then washed through the system. Now, here's where the rub comes in. It's important that the cleaner you choose is formulated to not damage your car's catalytic converter or the oxygen sensor. Most cleaners are safe to use. Just make sure that you verify its O2 safe application on the label before you buy the product. One of those products that I recommend and we use is Berryman B12 Chem Tool, which is safe for catalytic converters and sensors, or talk to your local O'Reilly Auto Parts counterman. He knows. Okay, the next type of cleaning is direct injection cleaning. DI-equipped engines cannot be cleaned using the wet procedure that I described previously, because the fuel that normally carries the cleaner through the system that's sprayed directly into the piston area and not around the intake manifold or the injectors or the valves, not through the ports like I said. So because the fuel is sprayed directly into the combustion chamber, direct injection engines are prone to heavy carbon buildup caused by oil vapors. So how do you clean carbon from a DI engine? Well, that's part 2 of my explanation, and you'll just have to come back and tune in to get it, because I don't have the time to properly share with you the procedure. But just know this, if you drive a direct injection automobile, the fuel is directly injected like a diesel into the chamber. The problem with that is that carbon is built up from oil vapors in the intake lungs of the engine and around the intake valves and cannot be removed. And furthermore, it coaks up until finally at 70, 80, 100,000 miles, if you haven't done any procedures, you can't get it off unless you take the motor apart. And that is a big expense. Come back with another hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Watch BobbyLive.com. Thank you so much. 10 to noon Eastern Time. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, recently we had a 4-cylinder 2014 Nissan Frontier in the shop. The customer said the vehicle wasn't running well, nothing specific, but fuel mileage was down and the vehicle had lost its zip. As he explained, it's a manual transmission, so I know what it should feel like, and it's just not right. The suggested maintenance and ignition service were up to date, and there were no trouble codes. So what was the problem? The answer lies with today's complex engines. While the maintenance schedule was on time, engines today are prone to carbon deposit formation, and fuel system cleaning is a key piece of the puzzle. Professional fuel system cleaning is an option, but a less expensive alternative is the use of a pour-in fuel system cleaner. We use Berryman B12 Chem Tool in the shop. It features Berryman's proprietary high-energy solvent, or HEST technology. We poured a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool into the Frontier, and after just one tank of gas, MPG improved and the vehicle regained its zippiness. For more information, drive to BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And folks, welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You know, a lot has changed in my industry. Automobiles, and we talk about autonomous cars and self-driving cars and those sorts of things. And yeah, we will see those, and they're definitely on the roads being tested as we speak. it will be some time before that becomes commonplace, just like it will be some time before electric cars become commonplace. But certainly it appears that that's well on the way here. Like France says that between now, well, in 2030, no more diesel cars will be sold in France. I'm sorry, no more internal combustion engine cars new will be sold. And by 2024, no more diesels in Paris. And that from the mayor of Paris. So those are some serious, really serious implications there. That if we're gonna, what are we gonna do with all the gasoline-powered engines? So the bottom line is there's a lot of polluting going on, and then there are also some fantastic non-polluting going on because cars are getting better. I'll share the rest of my story with you with regard to how to take care of your car this hour. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by the Car Care Council, reminding you that October is Fall Car Care Month. Folks, visit carcare.org to learn how you can keep your vehicles safe, dependable, and on the road longer. Carcare.org, your calls when I come back. Diablo Sport Tuning Systems give you the ability to easily boost your vehicle's power without even popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. PSCA racer Alex Rosio has been using Diablo Sport products on her Dodge Magnum since the beginning of her racing career. According to Alex, Diablo Sport tuners have been an essential part of her success. There really isn't a better line of products that offer quick tuning and diagnostics. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. And while you're there, check out the new Intune i3 Performance Programmer. That's DiabloSport.com. Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car battery is what keeps it all going. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. Choose a battery with PowerFrame grid technology inside. It's engineered with confidence to keep you going longer. That means you can trust your battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. Visit Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest for a battery with PowerFrame grid technology, or learn more at PowerFrame.com. Super Chips performance tuners are a great way to increase vehicle power without even turning a wrench. But don't take my word for it. Four Corners 4x4 owner Jason Klemitsky runs Super Chips flashpack programmers in a number of different vehicles. According to Jason, there are a lot of choices in aftermarket tuning, but we've never had a reason to look outside the Super Chips family. And now, through October 15th, enter the Power Up and Win promotion. You could win wheel tire packages, cold air intakes, and other great prizes. Learn more at superchips.com.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I would ask you, what is your most important question, and not necessarily most important, but what would be one of the questions that you would want to ask? Let's say you're going to take your car into a shop next week, or you're going to take it in for an oil change, and how often should you take it in for an oil change? And then let's say that you drive a 2015 automobile, so that's a couple of years old. Let's say you have 25 to 30,000 miles on the car. 15,000 is average mileage. So not for me, not for a lot of folks, but mine's running about 8 to 9,000 miles a year is my average, which shows I don't get out enough. but the bottom line, the car that I drive is the direct injection automobile. And let me give you the number to call, and I'm sorry, I'm remiss. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. 888-227-2546. Here's what you need to know. If you drive a direct injection automobile and that car has 25,000 miles and it runs like a top, it is being polluted internally. It does not pollute externally, at least not nearly as much as its predecessor. But if you're driving a direct injection automobile, that vehicle, if it only has direct injectors, and you say, well, Bobby, what do you mean? Direct injectors are injectors. Well, that's not necessarily true, because the direct injection engine, which is much more efficient than the port injection, and let me tell you what a port injection is. A port injection is where you spray the fuel in the intake pipe, the lungs of the engine, and it wraps around the valve. That helps wash the valve, the back of the valve, because there's oil on the back of the valve, because the valve goes up and down in the head and has to be lubricated with oil. So when you stop the engine, the oil seeps and weeps down onto the back of the valve. And when it does, you're parked, and there's up to 600 degrees temperature, so that oil then is baked. And this happens every time you stop the car, every night, every day. And over a period of a year or two, that film of oil that has baked builds up on top, and it starts to block the airways. I call it black lung disease. Not only is it oil from the valve guide, it's oil from the vapors of the internal engine, because that's the PCV, positive crankcase ventilation system. I've talked about this I don't know how many times on the air, but now it's epidemic. When I say epidemic, if you drive a car that's a 2015 or even a 10, if it has direct injection, it has dirty lungs. Now, how do you get that dirt out of there? How do you get that coked up carbon out of there? And I wrote a paper on it, and it's best practices car care equates to dollars saved. Well, let me share this with you, because see, I don't believe there's a single person tuned in today that will take his or her car with 25,000 miles to a service shop and say, I want you to perform an induction clean, a fuel rail system clean on my engine. I want you to fog the intake manifold on my engine of my direct injection car, because Bobby Likis says I should do that. Because I don't believe that you'll do that. You know why? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Okay, great. So forewarned is, the rest of that story. I'm warning you, because when you get 75 to 100,000 miles or sooner, that engine is going to run poorly. The check engine light may well come on. And what will be required is not a fogging of the intake system like I'm talking about doing. What's required is to take that engine apart. It's not like cleaning your teeth. Well, it is like cleaning your teeth, except that the only way you get to the teeth that I'm talking about, the intake valves, is to take the top of the motor apart. So you take your car in, it's got 75,000 miles, its check engine light's running. You say, well, it's not the gas cap, I already replaced that. Oh, I don't mean to get ahead of you, but that's the way it goes, right? So you take it in, and they do the induction system, they being the shop, including our shop. We do the induction system service and what have you, but ultimately doesn't fix the car. You know why? Because the only way you can get to the back coking of deposits on the back of a valve is to take the intake manifold off and then close the valves by turning the motor over and pour in a commercial chemical, and taking a wire toothbrush and scraping each one of those, and then sucking with a vacuum cleaner, sucking that emulsified coke and carbon yuck out of that port. And some of it's going to get into the cylinder. So even after that's properly done, and we have done this, when you first crank the engine up, some of that deposits and some of that solvent will go into the cylinder, so you have to change the oil
afterwards. What I'm saying is, you're talking about a whole day's job. Number one, you ain't going to pay for a whole day. You're not. Number two, there's no way you can do that job and not get dirt into the other parts of the engine. Now, I'm passionate about this because I drive one of those cars. I drive one of those cars, and it's a concern of mine. Let's go to Stan, who called in. Then we'll go to Mac as well. And folks, 888 Car Clinic is the number if you have any questions. 888-227-2546. Stan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for welcoming me. I think I've got my agenda a little straighter than I did last week when I called, and so I'll try to be more specific as we talk about safety in new cars. But in particular, I want the model that I think most of us have learned is that you buy a car and you watch the depreciation and then you watch the repairs go up, and at some point you decide you've got to replace it.
Right.
And we've got an economic model for replacement. And I have thoughts that with all the new safety stuff, some of us are going to need to consider a safety replacement rather than an economic replacement.
Agreed.
We may need to replace the car because there's new stuff out there that will keep us from getting hurt and save us from big hospital bills, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I agree 100%. And I mean, the day that I leased my 13 car, I leased my 13 car for two reasons. Number one, at the end of 3 years, I could turn it back in and not have to worry about trying to sell it. And of course, and that's why I leased it, because I just knew that by the time, and my body style was created by Tata in 2010, so I figured by 2016, because mine's a 13, that body style would be replaced with a new one, and I would get a new car, maybe lease it or not, and I would get new technology. As it turned out, the car was so popular that they didn't change it. They haven't changed it yet, and here it is 17. I've had my car over 4 years, and it has a clunky navigation system that I really don't like. And I said this the first day I drove it because it was frustrating, and even the hands-on calling is so frustrating that you have to train and you have to input special words or voicemails or, a phone, dial number, beep, you got to wait. I mean, it's like it takes no less than 30 to 40 seconds to complete the litany of detailed steps that you require just to dial 432-7411, which is the time of day. So the bottom line, I'm waiting for a new body style and waiting for new technology, because the next car I have will have HUD, heads-up display. It will have radar cruise control that latches onto the car in front of me. That is a whale of a safety device that I've already driven a car. So those are two. Now, the new car that I want has the radar for the cruise control, doesn't have a HUD. And if you've ever driven a car with a real heads-up display and seen how safe and how much information you have in your eyes without taking your eyes off the road ahead, then you would, and that was a K900, as you know, Stan, the Kia that I drove. That car, the heads-up display in the Kia is 100 times better than the heads-up display that I drove in a Cadillac. It's unbelievable. GM should be ashamed of themselves. And furthermore, the Cadillac that I drove, now this was a 15 Cadillac that had all the electronics, took me 7 hours to become familiar and know how to work the electronics. The Kia took me 35 minutes. And I don't have any axe to grind. I like the GM car, but I can tell you, I wish, and I had said that I'd hoped that the engineer that designed the electronics on the GM would take the car home to his wife and said, here, work this for me. And I would guarantee you, he'd be sleeping on the couch that night. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, and it's pathetic, and it is. That's the right word. And if I sound like I got an axe to grind, it's because I was able to compare the two cars together, and I love the GM cars. I think they're beautiful, but they better get off the porch and they better, Apple Play, those sorts of things. But manufacturers don't want to open up the door to sell more Apple phones because they're selling Fords and Chevrolets and those sorts of things. However, there are some car manufacturers that do. So Stan and Mac, I see you're on the line. Folks, I'll come back and turn the mic to you next. I'd love to have your opinion on what you think about current cars and the new cars. Like Stan, don't go away. Recently, we had the chance to talk tires with John Robinson, Senior Communications Specialist for General Tire. Our topic was the use of nitrogen versus air. While there are definitely some benefits to using nitrogen, the conditions must be right. Let's hear from John.
Nitrogen is ideal if you can get the perfect conditions. If you're using nitrogen under not perfect conditions, then you're still going to have air and moisture inside that tire, and it's really not going to give you the benefits. So under ideal conditions, nitrogen is going to give you better balance and better performance for the tire. There's nothing wrong with air, but nitrogen, if you can get those ideal conditions, is really going to give you the utmost ultimate performance of those products.
General Tire's Grabber HTS 60 provides a perfect synergy of comfort, durability, and performance for your light truck or SUV. The Grabber HTS 60 Stability Tread features a flatter footprint, optimized tread pattern stiffness, and improved tread compound. The result is up to 25% more tread life than the original Grabber HTS. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. Time to go to our Car Clinic inbox. Jim in Indianapolis writes, Bobby, I have a 2010 Ford Explorer, and it's taking more than 10 minutes for the engine to warm up, whereas it used to take 6. I hear you guys talking about Stant thermostats. What makes them so special? Thanks, Jim. You probably heard me talking about the Superstat in particular. Superstat is a premium-grade thermostat that performs better and lasts longer. The Superstat features heavy-duty springs that help return it to a closed position to prevent cold running. A larger heat motor helps control engine temperature, while a heavier gauge steel housing gives it a high-end feel. Just hold one yourself, and you'll feel the difference. The Superstat is American-made and comes with a limited lifetime warranty. You definitely don't want to compromise when replacing your Explorer's engine thermostat. The Superstat helps maintain proper air-to-fuel ratio, which maximizes fuel economy, keeps tailpipe emissions in check, and provides optimal performance. Learn more about the Superstat at your local auto parts store or at stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment. We're talking about technology, and I was just slamming the Cadillac ELR. The car was beautiful. Electronics, terrible. Let's go back to Stan, because Stan's talking about replacing the car that you have today with a newer car that has all of the safety features, and whether or not I agree with that. And I think, Stan, to say that I agree with that's the understatement. Back to you.
Well, I was hoping that I got a couple of new clues from you. Heads-up display and the follow me radar. I'm thinking that the two that are most important from my perspective are lane change and automatic stopping. Where do you place those in your list?
Oh, well, right in line. But see, the reason I didn't bring those up is because those are like standard equipment. You know, I mean, they're becoming standard equipment, whereas the HUD, that's a $2,500, I think, item. And I know that the cruise radar was a $2,600 item. It was the only thing that I didn't add to my car because I'd never driven one at that time. But after I drove the K900 with that particular option, I would never buy another car. I won't say never,
But at my choice, I would not buy a new car that did not have that option. And let me just give a short version of why. I'm coming back from New Orleans in this K900 that I kept for a week. And I got to a major intersection on Highway 29 and where Palafox come together, and it's like 5 lanes of traffic all coming together. The bottom fell out. It was raining. I could not see the car in front of me. I let off the gas altogether. The cruise took me, and the cruise control followed my car with the car in front of me. And so I didn't have to worry about seeing that car, because if that car had slowed, my cruise and my car would have slowed. And that was only a 30-second gotcha, but it didn't get me because I had that radar cruise. That's my experience, and it was fantastic.
Well, the car that I am thinking of is my pastor's car, who's had a couple of really terrible wrecks in the last 5 years, and he drives a 2012. And I'm thinking I want to encourage him to, because it doesn't have automatic stopping, doesn't have lane changing.
Right.
The warnings if you get out of your lane. Are there any others? So we got 4 that look like they're important technologies, probably worth leasing instead of buying over.
Well, of course, leasing is really difficult. You never know if you get a good deal or not. I wish they were. Maybe there is. Maybe I should do some study on leasing. I will the next time. It costs more to lease a car because you have no equity in it. You don't build any equity. And I bought my car. After 3 years lease was up, I decided to buy my car, but I wanted the option not to. So I paid extra money. But the bottom line, other than lane change and automatic braking and the radar, adaptive radar, cruise, and HUD, heads-up display, that would be, no, and one more, the center stack. The center stack would have to be compatible with my iPhone, or I would not buy that car. And the reason I say that is because you can take any car on the road and fool around with a navigation system until you have a wreck because it's so distracting, or you can just pick up the phone, and I don't use a phone pickup, I've got a mount on my car, and say, hey Siri, I want to go from Atlanta to Murfreesboro. And it says in 2 miles, take lane so-and-so. I mean, really? Really? So that's what I would do. That's my opinion.
Well, I agree with you about the economics. So let me tell you another little part that I found on economics. One of those crashes cost $29,000 in hospital bills.
Wow.
It could have been avoided with automatic braking, I think.
Wow. Well,
so there's money in money, right? There's money we put in the car, and there's money we have to put if the car doesn't do its job right.
Well, you're right, Stan, and I appreciate your call, and I will close with you on this and go to Mac. And folks, you'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. I called one of my customers that was due for a service, and I said, I want to call, because generally my team does that. And he said, Bobby, I don't have that car any longer. Please update my records. I said, what'd you buy? And he told me he bought a Honda. And he said, well, actually, I bought a Honda, and I went back and bought another one. I bought one for my wife, and then I went back and bought me one. I said, really? I said, well, so the Honda folks treated you well? He said, well, yeah, they did. He said, but that really wasn't why I bought the Honda. I bought it because it had, and Stan, he started naming things like lane control, and it didn't have automatic braking to my knowledge. It's been a year or so ago. But the bottom line is, he told me he felt safer driving this car because it made him a safer driver. And I will tell you, everybody thinks they're great drivers, including yours truly. But in the big scheme of things, there's nothing like a machine, and with regard to being able to instantly react to a situation. So, it's technology. It gets better and better. Hey, Stan, thanks so much for your call. Always great to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, sir.
Thanks, my friend. Let's go to Mac and take his call. And then, folks, Hannah will take your call at 888-227-2546. Mac, thanks so much for your patience and for holding. It's your turn. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, well, I got a 2004 Colorado, and my heater blower motor comes and goes.
Okay.
And the fella told me it's a ground warrant. And he said, look under your breather, and you find it. But I couldn't find no wire.
Well,
under
ask
the
him.
breather.
Ask him to find it. If he knows it's
Huh?
if he knows it's a ground wire without ever looking at your car,
Well-
ask him where he gets his information.
Well, he got it off the internet,
Exactly.
and he said they had some trouble with the ground wire.
So
Now,
ask
I
me.
couldn't
So
find it.
ask
I couldn't
ask me
find
what's
it.
wrong with it. Ask me what's wrong with your car.
Well, I asked him, and he said they seem to think that the ground wire just comes and goes, and I don't know where the ground wire is.
Well, if I told you I had a pain in my chest, what would you tell me? That I needed a heart?
Well, I'd say you was getting ready to have a heart attack.
Well, what if it was just simple gas pain? What if? Well, in other words, you can't. And here's the bottom line. Let's just cut to the chase here. Your friend doesn't know what he's talking about because he couldn't possibly know what's wrong with that car. That is a guess. It is a total guess. Could he be right? Sure, he could be right.
What do you think it is? What do you think it is?
Oh, I wouldn't. I know it's either electronic connection, a switch, a resistor, or the blower motor, or a combination of all the above.
I've had them check the. O'Reilly checked everything out, and he
Wait,
said
wait, stop. Mac, O'Reilly is not in the automotive repair business.
You mean that I could take it to the Chevrolet place and they'd probably find it? Huh?
Well, now I got you. You're right. You're right, my friend. That's exactly right. When you have a heart pain, you don't self-diagnose. You go to a doctor and say, here's what happens when I do this, or here's what's happened, and the doctor examines you and puts you through stress tests, yada, yada, yada. When you have a car pain, you do the same thing. You don't ask your next door neighbor. You don't take your watch to your next door neighbor. You take it to a jewelry shop and say, fix my watch. Nor do you take advice from your next door neighbor, unless your next door neighbor is Bobby Likis. And then,
where do you think that round wire would be?
Oh, well, what does that have to do with it?
Well, that's all of the.
You are not listening to me, Mac.
They called on the internet and they had.
You are not
trouble with
pulling
that.
down. You're not listening to me, Mac. If you think your friend who has mentioned the ground wire that you hung up on, if you think that's what's wrong with your car, go to your friend and say, show me the ground wire. Or if he's not in your neighborhood, call him and say, where is the ground wire? I'm under my hood now. Oh, I'm under my dash. How far over from this widget is the ground wire? I'm telling you, my friend, not to be short with you, but you got to get over it. You got to get over this. He doesn't know what's wrong with your car, neither do I. The repair requires tests. It's electric.
Oh.
You got to test the
Okay.
system. You understand?
Yeah.
I know you don't want to, but you do understand, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's running now.
Okay. Well, keep the faith. Maybe it'll stay running. Thanks for your call.
Yeah.
So folks, as you can tell, how do you get your car fixed? Well, number one, you find a local service shop in your own hometown that you trust, and you take your vehicle there. And then when something happens that maybe your trust gets shadowed or maybe something that's not right, go back and discuss what your feelings are with that service. And you'll find out what that service shop is made of. Because trust me, there's no way that you are going to fix your own car, and I'll challenge any DIYer out there or anyone else that goes on the internet. We have a car in our shop right now that is a Fiat, that the headlights didn't go off. The owner went on the internet and it says, oh, this happens all the time. Pull this relay. And he did. And the lights went off. Oh, wow. Unfortunately, when he bought a new relay the next morning and put it in, the lights have never worked since. And as we speak, that car is in one of our stalls with a nose off of it, the complete front bumper assembly, because that's what you have to do to get to the wiring. And Johnny Bars, our master ASE certified lead technician, has 20 pages of wiring diagrams to test and trace where the power comes from and why the lights won't come back on. That's just one story that I share with you, because when you think about doing something, now the man probably should have disconnected the battery versus pulling a relay out, because when you have a current flowing and you disconnect if you have a light that's plugged in the wall and you don't turn the light off, but you snatch the wire out of the plug, in a DC world you could have 400 volt surge. That's right. You could have a 400 volt surge. So you could have a bad relay. It could be stuck, and it could have been the relay. The problem when you unplug it, and I'm not blaming the fellow because he didn't want the battery to run down, but when you unplug it, there's a lot of voltage that's built up that's powering the headlights, because that's a high current draw. Where does that voltage go? Splat. That's how coils work. Coils work by inducting 12 volts and collapsing that voltage, which creates 100,000 volts. It's tough. When I come back, I'll take your calls, maybe some easier calls, and I'll tell you about direct injection and carbon and the black lung disease. Don't go away. Folks, October is Fall Car Care Month, and there's no better time to perform a thorough check of vehicle maintenance items. Start with your heater and defroster to make sure they're working properly. Consider winter wiper blades and use a cold weather washer fluid. There is a difference. Keeping your gas tank at least half full during cold weather may also prevent moisture buildup in gas lines that could ultimately freeze. Dirty or low oil can cause problems in the winter, so be diligent about recommended oil change intervals. Consider a winter weight oil if you live in a cold climate. Winter is a great time to also check your fuel, air, and transmission filter maintenance history. Daylight savings means it's a good time to check all exterior and interior lights and make sure the headlights are properly aimed and the lenses are clear. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. While you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment. If you've been listening, you heard me on a rant, I guess, with regard to a caller that called in that had a ground wire, according to Hoyle, whoever Hoyle is. And the bottom line, folks, when it comes to automotive repair, there are testing and proper procedures, and that have to be performed before you can know what's wrong with the car. If you have a question, now's the, and by the way, just for your information, the only dumb car question is the one that's not asked. So if you have a question, don't think that it's a dumb question. Call me, 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Let me hear from you, and I'll share with you the information that I've learned through educational courses, through schools, and through 46 plus years in automotive service industry to this day. And some 50 or 60 hours a week, we're in the trenches every day, Monday through Friday, servicing and maintaining and pre-repairing our customer's car. What's pre-repair? I thought you never asked. It's the prevention of repair. And the bottom line, I've seen so many cars and so many issues in my lifetime with 250,000 cars through my shop that I would like to stop car repair and replace it with preventive repair. And we created a plan to do just that, and it's called pre-repair, which stands for the prevention of repair. And for more information, you can go to prerepair.com, and you'll see exactly what we do. And it is a program that addresses the main components of your engine, the lifebloods of the vehicle, to keep your car in top running condition. It's so good, we trademarked it, and it's so good it comes with a lifetime protection plan that does not cost you other than the price of servicing the items that we service, which would be the cooling system, the power steering system, the engine, the transmission, the transfer case, the differential, and the air conditioner, and a brake system. And you service those systems, and automatically for each system service, if your car qualifies, and if it does, it has to have less than 75,000 miles, but it could be out of warranty. It's a great system. I'm not selling it, I'm just telling you, I know how to stop repair. Why? Because I've repaired so many cars. Sooner or later, you get it. Let's go to New York, take a call from Don. Don, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, good morning. How are you, Bobby?
I'm great, thanks. How about yourself?
Good. I've got a 2017 Jeep Cherokee with a 6-cylinder engine and an automatic transmission.
Okay.
Now, the vehicle came equipped with a electronic stop-start mechanism whereby you stop at a red light, and if you're stopped more than a second or two, it shuts the engine off.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's kind of a nuisance, but they did put a button on the dash whereby I can press that button when I'm driving the car, and then it disconnects that mechanism so that when I stop at a red light, it won't shut the engine off. Now, I know it's a fuel efficiency situation, but I'm wondering, would there be a way to permanently disconnect that without maybe violating a warranty or something, or creating more problems, just because I find it to be a pain in the neck to have to continuously work that button every time I start the engine up?
Don, the answer to that question is the software. It is possible, but I'm not sure that Jeep offers that. BMW had so many complaints that they went back and put in software and upgraded software that allows the system. So first, let me back up. The system, when you turn the car off, even if you've disabled that feature, when you recycle, you turn it off and then restart it, it defaults to the back on position. My car does that, which is a 2013 Jaguar. It does that. Every time I get in my car, I have to reach over to the same button that you do and depress that button on my car, and I have done that since day one. For me, it's even more of an issue because 10 years ago, I lost the lateral movement of my right arm, and I'm now left-handed, so I have to use my left arm, reach across my steering wheel to the far right side of the center stack and push that button. And yet I do it universally because my car defaults to the on mode. I wish that I could jailbreak my software. Now, let's fast forward to my car was 4 years old. The start-stop battery went bad. And as we speak today, my start-stop battery
is still bad and has 0 voltage, and that's been that way since January of 17, because the only battery that I can buy is from the dealer, and it's a $400 battery with with $140 software reprogram. Now, I'm of the nature that I can't stand to have a car that does not have something that it's born with that doesn't work. So I have reached out to PowerFrame, which is the Johnson Controls brand, which is one of our advertisers and a product that I sell in my shop and use, and I have asked them if they make the start-stop battery in the aftermarket, because the battery that comes with my car was made by Exide. The bottom line, not Exide, not Johnson Control PowerFrame. Nobody offers an aftermarket start-stop battery for my car. So I know that in the next 6 months, I don't know, I believe in the next 6 months that some aftermarket company is going to offer that, and I refuse to spend $400 for a feature that I don't want on the car. So I'm fighting with myself. If you see where I'm going here, I'm fighting with myself. Mine quit on its own, and you know, Don, when it did quit, it just quit stopping, and I forgot to turn it off because it didn't remind me, and so I went for like 2 months. It was still under warranty, by the way, but I didn't tell them. But I went for 2 months and it didn't work. And then one day a fault code came up on the dash, and I said, "Well, I'll be darned." I said, I thought I had trained, and I did. I thought I had possibly trained the car because I kept turning it off, but I was wrong. The car, every time I turn it off, the car forgets what I did and would re-energize it until that little battery went bad. And it's the size of an ATV battery, or a golf not even a golf cart. It's the size of a lawnmower battery, and it's $400. And mine is completely dead, and the car has no effect on any other situation. So, does that mean that in your Jeep you could disconnect the start-stop battery, and render that part inoperative? And the answer is probably yes, but I won't recommend that. But I just, for you to know, my battery is totally dead, and my system doesn't work, and nothing else is affected on the automobile electronically.
So enough people complained to that other manufacturer, and they made a modification.
Yes, BMW made a modification, and once you set it off like you do, it stays where the driver put it. And to that end, I have a mode of driving in my car that's an aggressive mode. It's a little flag, like a high-performance flag, on the console, and that changes the ride into a harsher ride, but it's a more controlled ride, and changes the shift timing in the transmission, and it's more aggressive. And when I set that, it will stay. If the dash turns from a blue hue to a red hue, to let me know that I have this dynamic driving mode turned on, and I like it. And so I'll leave that on, but I have found, and I haven't proven this out, I have found that if I do that during the day and I go in to have lunch somewhere and come back out, it's still in that mode. But I also see that if I leave the car shut off overnight, the next morning, it's never been that way. So I think that over time, it too reverts back to the normal ride mode, but not during the normal course. I don't know how long the timeout would be, maybe an hour, I don't know, maybe 2. But anyway, there may be, what I would recommend for you, in leaving you, I would recommend, Don, that you call the dealer and ask if there's a software upgrade that they could perform that could render that situation so that when you turned it off, it would stay where you left it.
Okay, no, that's a good idea,
okay.
And I do appreciate your analysis.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate your call. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Let's go from New York to Pennsylvania. Mac, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
Great, thank you. Yourself?
Good. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Hey, I got a little bit of a mystery that's been going on for a long time.
Okay.
And I just like your thoughts on it.
Okay.
So, I have a 2008 Jeep Patriot, which is named Al, and I do a lot of driving for work, and Al's been fantastic, just hit 200,000 miles, and haven't had any, besides wear and tear stuff. It's been just an excellent car. In the last 20, 30,000 miles, it started to leak oil, and between oil changes, I'll often have to put a quart in. I take my car to a very trusted, amazing mechanic who has saved us tons of money and other repairs, and he's just wonderful. Our entire family takes their car to him.
Great.
He says that it's not an oil leak that there's anything you do about it. He said you're just high mileage and your engine is loose, and so just a little bit of oil seeps out over as you drive it, and it's not something you fix. But occasionally I have to get my car an oil change or something on the road because I'm always driving for work.
Right.
And every time I go anywhere like, any local shop, they always tell me my oil is leaking after they change it, and I was low, and they look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them what my mechanic told me.
Well, let's talk about that one item. When they tell you your engine has an oil leak, ask them to show you where.
I never thought to ask that.
Well, I mean, if you walk in a room, gosh, I shouldn't use this analogy. I mean, if you walk in a room and your hat's on crooked, anyway, the bottom line is this. If somebody tells you that you have a brake light out, so well, show me. Or if you got a oil leak, well, show me, because the only reason, here's the bottom line. And for me, I'm pro technician. I'm for, I love it that you have a technician that you trust, and because we work all our life to make that happen. Now, I'm not as favorable toward fast in, fast out lubes, because I don't believe in a fast oil change, unless you're in a hurry and you've got to go on a trip, and the difference between making an appointment and getting your oil change and proper inspection is and the car's in good shape, or at least you feel like it is, and you want to get a quick oil change, then by all means, better to get a quick oil change than no change at all. But as a rule, I disagree with a quick oil change. But let's put all that aside. The only reason that someone, whether it's a quick oil change or a certified ASE master technician in my garage, would tell you had an oil leak is if he or she saw the oil leaking. So they couldn't make this stuff up. And I think that your technician probably means that you have some seepage of oil, but not to the point that it would cause you to be a quart low, because if your car was leaking a quart of oil between changes every 5,000 miles, you would see vapors of oil on the back bumper, or you would see streams of oil running back where it's blown back, because that's a lot of oil. Whereas in a V8 motor, and I know yours is not a V8, but just this analogy, in a V8 motor, if that engine burned one drop of oil every time a cylinder fired, every time one spark plug fired, guess how much oil it would use in 2 miles? It would use one quart.
Wow.
So an engine that burns 1 quart of oil in 5,000 miles is not a big deal. Now, mine doesn't do that.
Sure.
And some engines do, and you will not find an automaker that will condemn nor perform any services, even under warranty, on an engine until it reaches a threshold that far exceeds a quart every 5,000.
Gotcha.
So,
and what the and the other thing that I assume he's a master mechanic at his shop. He recommends that I go to not necessarily along a high mileage one, but just a weight higher, so just a heavier oil.
I would go to high mileage. I would go to high mileage. I would use the same viscosity, because upping the viscosity is you still have the same
propensity to use oil even with a thicker viscosity. And you live in Pennsylvania, so I disagree with that with him.
I'm actually live in Maryland, Annapolis.
Okay.
So I'm just driving through Pennsylvania.
Oh,
where
okay,
I
I
picked
got
up on
you.
the radio.
Okay, well then here's what I'd recommend. I'd recommend staying with the viscosity year-round that you use in that vehicle according to the manufacturer, and I recommend a high mileage oil. And because the additive package in a high mileage oil, it makes amends for and it is truly formulated with more phosphorus and other things that the regular oil doesn't have. And I didn't always believe that until I did some studies on that. So, Mac, that's what I recommend. You got it?
That's great. Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man,
Thanks for
thank
taking my
you.
call.
Thank you. WatchBobbyLive.com. When you get home, if there's not a station, WatchBobbyLive.com on the internet, on your phone, anywhere, from 10 till noon Eastern Time. Mac, be safe, and thank you for calling. Okay, so I was going to share with you about my direct injection cleaning, but there it is, the end of the bell. Folks, tune in next week, 10 till noon Eastern Time. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you will love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
The Predator's back on the prowl. Diablo Sports' legendary performance tuner has made a return. The Predator 2 continues where its predecessor left off, providing users tremendous performance gains, an unprecedented collection of adjustable options, advanced data logging capabilities, and much more. And I'm going to be giving away a Predator 2 in the coming weeks at a suggested $355 retail value. For more information about the Predator 2, drive to DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com, and stay tuned for your chance to win.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma